all of that last night on Thursday after the Knicks game and yelling at the Sixers and yelling at Tobias Harris and yelling at everybody. You have a game the next night and you seem to calm down just a bit. Nice win on the second night of a back-to-back for the Sixers, and the second really good win over the Cleveland Cavaliers over the last 2 weeks. This is the PHLY Sixers postgame show alongside Derek Bodner. I'm Devon Givens. Kyle Neubeck, again, live from the arena to give us his thoughts after the postgame availability with the head coach, the players, and all. Get his thoughts on everything that took place tonight. And again, another really good win for the Sixers tonight. They're 33rd on the season, so that's one that we check off, as Derek said, over the 23. See if you can get 8. Well, that's one. You check that one off. And a good win for the Sixers. The third and final game of the 3-game homestand on Sunday, 1 o'clock against the Milwaukee Bucks. But first things first, tonight, the Sixers get some guys back, had some sitting down again because of injury and some load management in the case of Kyle Lowry. But a good win, and especially a big showing in the second half, particularly from Tyrese Maxey in the fourth quarter, picking his play up. At one point in the fourth quarter, Derek, as we were coming back from the arena, he was sitting on 9 points. Yeah. And then he turned it up.
Yep. He had 14 or 15 there in the fourth quarter. He had a real nice stretch, some key buckets, including some free throws down the stretch to ice it. Overall, the stat line on the night isn't going to wow you in any real regard. 22 shots to get his 24 points. But he was so big down the stretch. That's something I feel like we've talked about a lot here over the year. Like, he might struggle in the first half, then come out, put the game away in the third or fourth quarter. And this was another one where you saw it. And this is, Cleveland obviously wasn't at full strength. Obviously, the Sixers weren't either without the big fella. But this is a good defensive squad here with the Cavs. And he came out, found a way to attack late, and had a real good finish to the game. And like I said, through the first half, he was struggling a lot. And you looked up there, Kyle and I were at the PHLY takeover at the arena. Devon was too, but I was talking to Kyle, which is why I said it like that. I apologize. I didn't mean to cut you out there.
I didn't take it personally. It's okay.
But I was talking to Kyle at the PHLY takeover is I think what I meant. And we're like, man, you know what? It's great that you got a boost from Campaign and Mo Bamba, of all people, in the first half, but that's not going to carry you to a victory. You need something to change, and that one thing to change was Tyrese Maxey, and he did it. Yeah,
they kept it close enough. They even took the lead with the fact that he didn't play well in the first half, and you had the big numbers from Campaign, Mo Bamba giving you some good minutes as well. They kept him around long enough. At one point, they took a nice lead. You felt like, okay, maybe they can hit a big shot here to push it to double digits and put the Cavs on their heels somewhere there in the third quarter, but they didn't. And then again, but they were still around, hanging around with the Cleveland Cavaliers. Once you got to the fourth quarter, hanging around enough where they were able to lean on their star player, their all-star player. You're talking all-stars on both sides. Darius Garland, a former all-star, Tyrese Maxey, an all-star this year, the one that stepped up in a big moment there for their team to get the W. Both teams down. They're big stars. And Donovan Mitchell did not play for the Cavs, of course. No Joel Embiid, no Kyle Lowry. Nick Batum only showed up for the final 2 seconds to make an entry pass, so he didn't have a redo of what happened in Cleveland a couple of weeks ago. He made the pass, and that was it. But for the most part, Tyrese Maxey had to be the best player on the floor, and he did that down that stretch in the fourth quarter where they needed him to be. He finished with 24, which was, on the night, tied for game high. Jared Allen with 24 for the Cleveland Cavaliers. But Maxey, as Derek said, 1 point, just 9 points in that fourth quarter, and turned it up the way that he did for the 15 to end up with 24. He had 7 boards, 5 assists. He had a big three-pointer there late. Sure, his free throws, he had 4 free throws there late in the fourth quarter, but he had a big step-back three that they really, really needed to really put them, again, arm's length enough. But if not for that bad turnover down the end, it probably wouldn't have had to be the 4 free throws at the end. But that big three, he nailed it.
Yeah, look, the end was entertaining, unique. It was a unique ending. That inbounds by Tobias was, this could have been a very different shot if Tyrese doesn't make those free throws down the stretch. They brought in Nick Batum, who they were hoping to not play, but they needed, like I said on Twitter, an adult. They needed an adult in the room for a couple minutes to get a inbounds pass in. You don't expect that to be difficult, but sometimes with this team it is. Look, this was in no way a great game or a perfect game. You're not looking for perfect here without Joel Embiid. You need good enough to scratch out a couple of wins here until he is able to get back, hopefully, and carry you to the finish line. Like we mentioned, you need at the bare minimum 8 out of 23. They picked one up. Not going to pick it apart too much. Like I said, Tyrese was great. And I thought the other real key was they didn't give up offensive rebounds, which I think was a little bit stunning. They are a team who has struggled here to rebound without Joel Embiid. They're a team that struggled mightily just 24 hours ago to rebound and to come in here and really control the glass was one key because, like I said, with Tyrese struggling, without all of your firepower, it was tough to do so, and that was a key.
Well, we have to give credit to a lot of players for that, right? Because you look at what happened on the boards tonight. They won on the glass. The rebounding margin was 51-43. And let's look at the starters and KJ Martin and Mo Bamba, because the starters, led by Paul Reed's 12 rebounds, that was key. That was crucial. We have 4 offensive on the glass there for the Sixers. Then you talk about, and we discussed this the other day, I mentioned to Derek that when in the past, Ben Simmons, no Joel Embiid, the one player that will really step up his rebounding game was Tobias Harris. We didn't see that as much last night. We saw it tonight. 9 rebounds for Tobias Harris tonight in 34-plus minutes. He had 2 on the offensive glass, some big ones on the 7 defensive rebounds, because that eliminates that offensive rebound second chance opportunity for the Cleveland Cavaliers. So that was huge. 7 for Tyrese Maxey, as we already talked about him. 5 each for Kelly Oubre and Buddy Hield. And then off the bench, you got 6 from KJ Martin in 16 minutes and 55 seconds and 4 from Mo Bamba in his identical 16 minutes and 55 seconds off the bench for Nick Nurse. So team rebounding tonight, that had to be an emphasis of discussion from Nick Nurse and the coaching staff, Derek, from Thursday's game and obviously from before with no Joel Embiid. But after Thursday's performance and so many offensive rebounds giving the Knicks an opportunity, that had to be a point of concern and emphasis as far as the game plan went tonight. Get on the glass, rebound, and they did that in a big way, team rebounding, and again, winning this one overall, plus 8 on the glass.
Yeah, and they ended up with, I think it was a 12-5 edge in second chance points. And like I said, they're at a spot, even with the Cavs missing at Mitchell, the Sixers are at a talent disadvantage. Like, that is a team, it's wild to think about because the Sixers have now beaten the Cavs twice in the last 2 weeks, both without Joel Embiid. The Cavs have won 18 of their last 20 games outside of these 2 losses against the Sixers. Like, they don't lose. This is the first time they lost a road game in a month, I believe it was. So if even acknowledging that they're without Mitchell, in order to come out here and steal a win, you have to do the little things. Rebounding is not really a little thing. I think we look at it sometimes. I don't want to say we overlook at it, but it gets glossed over a little bit. That was a thing they needed to control, and they did that for sure.
It's part of the reason why when Kyle May had the report about Andre Drummond at the trade deadline for the rebounding, it was, of course, to take care of the center position because, as you said, having an adult in the room, that's an adult in the room. And that's one that also rebounds in a big, big way that will help them at least alleviate some of the rebounding issues that you don't have when Joel Embiid is out there or now sitting out there on the bench right now for the time that he's going to be out. You need somebody to rebound the basketball, and that will be one guy that you have no worries about whatsoever if he was a part of this basketball team. But since they did not do that, did not get that, could not execute that trade and finish it, you have to go with the committee that you have. And Paul Reed came up in a big way with those 12 boards there, Mo Bamba with the 5. But to get it from everyone else going up and down the line and to do that against the team that Derek talked about, they stopped it, 8 or 9 game winning streak that they had before in Cleveland? Yeah. Much needed there. Again, Sixers needed a win here. By any means necessary, they needed a win, and they got it again against the Cleveland Cavaliers that it seems like they can play with this team. No Donovan Mitchell? Well, guess what? Donovan Mitchell played in the first game. This one, he did not play in, and they still found a way, shorthanded, undermanned, no MVP out there on the floor, and they got the W over this Cleveland Cavalier team. They have some stuff that they have to clean up once again before they take the floor Sunday afternoon. Those things can typically go bad for you, those early start times. They have their routine. Getting off to an early start like that, getting to the arena at 10 o'clock in the morning,
I do not normally talk to Doc Rivers at 11 a.m., but I will figure out a way to make that work. Yeah.
Look at you. You're going to go to Doc's press conference, huh? Then walk down the hall to the other one.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that'd be pretty
professionals
good.
Over here. Yeah.
Doc is hearing what everybody's saying, so that's going to be pretty fun as he makes his return to Philadelphia, first time as a Bucks head coach. But this one was a good one, and they needed it. We already had our buddy Vince in the chat. He's going at it, Vince Pellegrini, in the chat. He also had a super chat saying, 16 more wins, guys.
He's convinced they're going to go 17-11 to finish this one out. I have no idea how he expects that to happen, but we will be happy to point it out.
I'm leaning more towards the number that you had with the 8 out of the 23, and then you figure out the rest with the 5 games.
The 8 isn't even really a prediction. It is a bare minimum of what you need to keep that top 6 seeding. But yeah, 17 is optimistic. We'll see how it goes, buddy. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah. Because what was Brooklyn was the 6th seed last year. They were fighting with some of the other teams for that 6th seed last year, and I don't remember where they ended up. But if the Sixers were to get 8 more wins off of this one here tonight, they're looking right there in that 41 range for the win total. I don't know that that's going to be enough. You might need 42, 43 because of who you're.
Well, I think I was looking at 8 over the next 23.
23,
again, as a minimum.
As
and then
minimum.
there's like 5 games left. I think if you expect Embiid to get back, maybe they pick up those 4. So that gets you to 12. That puts you at like 44-ish range, somewhere like that.
Yeah. So needed that, but you needed this one tonight. Even with the Maxey piece, it was just more of they needed a win. They needed to get a W. They needed to feel good about the performance out there on the floor. And they did so once again against a good team. The stretch that they have that already started with the Knicks and now with the Cleveland Cavaliers. You go to Milwaukee here on Sunday. Then you travel to Boston next Tuesday, where we will have our watch party at the Chicken or the Egg in Marlton, New Jersey next Tuesday.
Good plug. Look at you, professional.
I appreciate it. Thanks to everybody coming out to hang out with us at the Takeover tonight. So it was good to see everybody. We saw Al. What up, Al? Al was there. So many others. And, we'll shout everybody out as we can as we go along. But they just simply needed a W. They need to feel good about something coming back from the break. And then when we look at on Sunday, you're going to get maybe Kyle Lowry back, which was a load management situation after missing an entire month. Maybe Nick Batum comes back. You have a day off for DeAnthony Melton, who played tonight in his first game back since, what did you say, right before Christmas?
Yeah, it was like the 12th. No, I think it was January 12th.
January 12th. I'm sorry. So it was Christmas for...
Feels like Christmas.
It was Christmas for Rob Covington. He's been out that long. Yeah, DeAnthony Melton plays 16 minutes tonight, and you can already see the difference. We'll get to him a little bit later, but it was just simply getting a win and feeling good about picking up another W. They had an opportunity to see what that was like before the All-Star break. Coming back from the break, you look at the Knicks and the Cavs on your home floor, and you needed to get a W. As we talked about it, over these 4, 1 on the road, you want to go 2-2. 3 would be great, but you want to go 2-2 because of the opponents and who you're talking about here. These 4 teams in front of you, try to get 2 because you do have 3 on your home floor. You let 1 slip away in that Knicks game. You dig yourself a hole the way that they did, down by as much as 26, by as many as 26. They come back. They get it to as close as 6 points, and they just could not get over the hump because they had to exert so much energy in that game. But tonight, not getting into deep of a hole, finding a way that they can sneak themselves back into it and get this W. This was a good one, and you needed your all-star to step up in a big way that he did. 24 points overall and 15 in that fourth quarter, where he was 5 for 9, played the entire fourth quarter, made his lone 3, which was that step back late, all 4 free throws, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, that 1 turnover, and again, 15 points for him were some big points for this team down the stretch there to lock this W in. They are now 33-23 on the season, have a day off on Saturday. They get back at it on Sunday against the Milwaukee Bucks. The Cavaliers are 36-19. They are second in the Eastern Conference right now, followed by Milwaukee, and then New York, Philadelphia right there in that 5 spot. Indiana, they right now occupy the 6th seed. So you're still, while you're trying to climb back into a higher seed, you're still trying to hold off the Indiana Pacers. You're only worried about what you can worry about and control what you can control. But that's our job to take a peek at what's going on and what's going on. Indiana off tonight, but got to make sure you keep them as far back as possible. Yeah. When we get back, though, well, go ahead.
I was just going to say, to your point, the Nets had 45 wins last year.
45,
so
okay.
44 that I projected, that seems pretty close to what you would need. They're currently 2 wins up on both Orlando, who's off today, and Miami, who is up late. So they're They're currently 3 wins up on Miami, but Miami's up pretty big late in the fourth quarter, so I'm projecting that as a win. So they're 2 wins up on both of them.
A little scuffle there.
Yeah.
In Miami.
Happens every now and then.
In New Orleans with Miami and New Orleans. Jimmy Butler and Brandon Ingram getting after it. Little fisticuffs. Well, no punches were thrown, but a crowd was gathered there in New Orleans for that little skirmish that they had. When we come back, though, we'll talk about some of the others that played well in this game, because as much grief as we give Tobias Harris rebounding on the glass, and he picked up the point total, so we'll talk about him a little bit. Campaign, we'll get more into what he did. Mo Bamba, KJ Martin. Ricky, we saw Ricky out there tonight in a big spot where they needed his defense on Darius Garland. We'll talk about it all when we get back right here on the PHLY postgame show.
For that, I want to tell you quickly about Empire Today. With Empire Today, you get shop-at-home convenience, the right product for your needs, quick and professional installation, and a price match guarantee. Empire Today is the best place to get new flooring, so of course they have copycats. But they can't beat Empire Today on quality, service, or speed. So they advertise low-quality products that Empire Today simply won't carry. Empire Today won't promise you the lowest prices, because anyone who does that is putting flooring in your home they wouldn't put in their own. Empire Today keeps shopping for floors simple with a curated product selection. Their philosophy is to help you find what you need, not overwhelm you with thousands of choices and substitutes. What they leave out of their selection is as important as what they put in. Empire Today's team exhaustively combs through thousands of product samples each year to find their perfect styles. Empire Today's virtual floor designer is a great way to see new floors, how they will look in your space. It's easy to snap a picture and instantly see how new floors will look in your room. Shopping for floors at a big box store can be frustrating. You might talk to someone today who was working in plumbing yesterday. Flooring is all Empire Today does. They live and breathe flooring, so you can be confident you're getting honest, upfront advice. They also service their own warranties. With Empire Today, you won't have to track down a manufacturer's phone number. Schedule a free in-home estimate today. All listeners can receive $350 off discount when they use the promo code PHLY. Restrictions apply. See empiretoday.com/PHLY for details.
By the way, I said Brandon Ingram. It was Najee Marshall. Okay. That was my mistake. Yeah.
I'm glad you interrupted our ad reads to correct yourself.
I just wanted to make sure, because no bagel for Najee Marshall, because it looks like the team is going to go down to the Miami Heat. And when I say no bagel, you know what? We had a player of the game last night. Well, no player of the game last night for the Bagels. Well, Tyrese Maxey and Kyle Lowry were technically the bagel winners last night. So we give a bagel out to Tyrese Maxey again for his fourth quarter play. And we'll throw in a little campaign for the stretch that he had there in the second quarter where he really played well, because Bagels and Company, they have the best bagels in town, the Brooklyn-style bagels made right here in Philly with Philly love, huge bagels. Biggest bagels in Philly. That's why we talk about how very large they are, hence the Brooklyn and New Jersey style. Large variety, usually have 15 to 20 different types to choose from on a daily basis, and they have seasonal bagels as well. For instance, during Valentine's Day, a Valentine's bagel. St. Patrick's Day bagel for you also, as we are upcoming there for St. Patrick's Day. Largest cream cheese variety, 30 different flavors of cream cheese and schmears as well. And for instance, when it comes to the seasonal flavors for the bagels, also for the cream cheese, and as I said, for instance, Eagles cream cheese during the football season, 76ers cream cheese right now and during the postseason, should they get in, they better get in. It's going to be a long off season for that basketball team, and did the Phillies promotion as well during the playoffs for the Phillies as they made their run towards the big series. Championship series, unfortunately, did not happen there. You can check out their Instagram page for some visuals also for Bagels & Co. Affordable prices when you want to step in there. It's Saturday tomorrow. You hear us talking about it quite often. Get up tomorrow morning. Go find the nearest Bagels & Co. near you at www.thebagelsandco.com/store locator to find the nearest Bagels & Co. closest to you. And as you do that, you'll find that the prices are really, really good. They've debated raising the prices, but they decided that's not what they want to do. They don't want to do that because they want to continue to be an everyday brand and not some high-end place that you only go to splurge on the weekends. I mentioned the weekend simply because if you haven't been there, it's Saturday tomorrow. Go find them. And then you'll find yourself there every day because you want to be a part of the great, great company that they have, the great people that they are. They aren't an artisan or mom and pop, but they do have that mom and pop feel when you go in there, and they cater to your everyday need. A lot of the customers are repeat. Hopefully you will be too. They have really good coffee to go with your bagel, and it's just it's not like $7 like Starbucks or why go to Dunkin' when you can get, again, a more premium product for the same price point, much better at Bagels & Co. So for the best Brooklyn-style bagels made right here in Philly, those large bagels, head to www.thebagelsandco.com/store locator to find the closest Bagels & Co. near you. Now, for Tyrese Maxey and campaign, when you go to the Bagels & Co. and get your bagel for the bagel player of the game, it's on me. Tyrese and campaign, it's on me. I got you. But only get one each. Just get one each.
I think they can probably handle it. I think
it's my treat.
All right.
I just introduced them to it, so it's my treat. Yeah, no worries. No worries at all. But campaign, man, that little stretch there that he had, just to kind of highlight him a little bit because of the struggles that Tyrese Maxey had. Their campaign, 16 points off the bench. He was 4 for 6 and did not hesitate whatsoever. Whatsoever on those shot attempts. A couple over defenders, a couple of one where the ball just simply swung to him in a good spot, and he knocked those down. He was 6 for 11 from the floor, 2 assists, 1 steal as well. And really, it was for him. He had 3 points there in the first quarter, and then he had that 4 for 6, 2 for 3 in that 8 minutes and 15-second run campaign. They really needed those points there in the fourth. In the second. Yeah,
they really did. Because like you mentioned, Tyrese was struggling. Buddy hadn't yet really gotten going. Obviously, Kyle Lowry was out. So you needed some point guard play. And look, you mentioned Cam and the shooting. A lot of his success is going to be very heavily tied to that. Because once he gets into the paint, he's pretty slender. He doesn't really elevate. So he's going to have struggles finishing through contact. He's not going to get the free throw line a ton. His offensive productivity, especially his own scoring, is going to be heavily dictated by whether or not that three-point shot is going in. That's going to make him a little bit streaky. But on nights like tonight, when you desperately need somebody to get going, and when everybody else around them, especially in the first half, isn't necessarily playing at the top of their game, you needed a big performance from him. And I thought he gave it to him. When he's playing, one thing he does do pretty well is he moves the basketball, and he can create shots for his teammates. There's a little bit of passing creativity with him on the floor. You just hope that he makes enough shots to be able to stay on the floor. And tonight, like I said, when they didn't have Kyle Lowry, and Kyle Lowry was really good last night. That was one of the good takeaways from that game. He came in and made an imprint right away, but you needed him to step up into this role, and he did a really good job of it.
No, he really did. He brought a lot of energy, too. He always plays with that energy when he takes the floor, but he definitely brought that energy in this one, realizing that Kyle Lowry was out for the load management, playing really well last night. You needed somebody to come in and do that, and it just happened to go that way because Buddy Hield and Tyrese Maxey did not have it at that moment. You needed somebody else to do it, and Campaign certainly did that with the 16 points, 10 there in the second, knocking down those 4 3-pointers. So if he can do that for the moments that they call his number, and there was a fun lineup. We were talking to Al when we were sitting there. There was a fun lineup of Campaign, Tyrese Maxey, Buddy Hield. Yep. I think Paul Reed was at the 5, and was it KJ Martin?
I think
KJ Martin was at the 4. And as we talked about before, this is what he does. He's trying to figure out, Nick Nurse, those combinations of what works, what doesn't work, who's gonna play with this player the best, and who's gonna play best with this player. And again, Derek, Campaign out there on the floor at that time, Maxey wasn't even looking for his. They were, specifically Campaign, and it kind of worked again during that stretch offensively where they were able to do something.
Yeah, and I feel like we're going to have a lot of those where like that worked offensively because I don't see very many of those. Like when Nick Nurse gets weird right now, it's never leaning on the defensive side of the floor because they, quite frankly, just don't have very many players who can do that. This was one where like you just needed to outscore them. Like what did Cleveland come in like the first quarter? I think they made like 8 of their they scored at will to start
first
the game.
Quarter,
I forget
it was
exactly what it was.
9 for 18 overall for their 25, but they started off to your point.
I think it was like at least 5 of 6, something like that. It was a lot. They were scoring really easily to start the game.
Very easy.
You are going to have lineups like this where, you might not get many stops, but at the very least, you're going to get shots at the rim. They didn't turn the ball over tonight, which was nice. They didn't give up the rebounding edge like we mentioned earlier, which you normally concede when you run out lineups like this. And because of that, you were able to survive some subpar defense. And we're going to see a lot of subpar defense over this stretch without Embiid. We're probably going to see a lot of subpar defense even when Embiid comes back, but he will be able to erase a lot of that in a way that very few players in the world can. But yeah, no, there was some weird lineups. There's going to be a whole lot more weird lineups because Nick Nurse doesn't really have many options. He has to. You might get a little bit stabilized here with Melton coming back, and Melton came in off the bench here today, maybe with Batum coming back eventually. Well, not eventually, but Batum re-entering the lineup again. You might see a little more stability, but not a whole lot. He's going to have to get creative.
With that, as we talk about the creativity, again, I like the offensive side of things with that lineup that we talked about. We saw one before where it was Turk Smith and Tyrese Maxey with Campaign on the floor, Buddy Hield, and then a big. But tonight, I'm looking at some of the comments here where Coach Lowell is saying, we'd love to see a Maxey, Melton, Hield lineups because Melton now being back is going to help. And you saw it immediately coming off the bench. He had one where he came around the screen at the top of the key, pulled up at the top of the key for a three-pointer and drilled it. And you saw it right away. Okay, there's another professional guard that they've been missing.
Yeah.
Ball handling, shooting on the offensive end.
Yeah, and look, coming off the screen, that's huge. Like I said, I've many times, I love players with a little bit of gravity. But he also just gives you a little bit defensively where he will get deflections, he'll get hands on balls, he'll get you out on the break. And for a team like this, manufacturing points like that will be key. And it is like they need to win possessions battles. They need to get easy offense in transition. They need to do all of this to try to overcome the loss of Joel Embiid down the stretch and pick out as many games as they can. And DeAnthony will help that. And he's certainly a very flawed player. We've mentioned those flaws a lot. Like for a big chunk of this season, he was shooting better from three-point range than he was at the rim. That's almost impossible to do, but he found a way to do it. Defensively, he'll get blown up by screens, yada, yada, yada. We don't need to relitigate all of that, but he does have virtues that he will bring. Some of that is standstill three-point shooting. Some of that is shooting off of screens. There's a little bit of shot diversity there. And some of that is just getting deflections and getting you out on the break and being able to defend up a position a little bit because he does have pretty long arms. All of that is welcomed on a team that doesn't have very much of that.
What did you make of his 16 minutes overall, both offensively, more offensively because you talk a lot about the defense, of course, but offensively, what did you see from him? And just as we talk about how it makes things easier for everybody else around him.
Yeah, I mean, he was, you mentioned that 1 3 he made. That was one of only 2 shots.
And he was only 2 for 6, but you saw the difference in having him out there.
Yeah, like I said, just having a player who will launch 4 threes in a 16-minute run to me is valuable because that is defended. There is gravity to that. The other team does have to pay attention to someone on the perimeter. And add in the defensive contributions I just talked about. It is great just to get some competent minutes. It was only 16. They're going to ease him back into this. He didn't really have a huge role offensively, but just to get competent minutes, I am happy that DeAnthony is back. I know that there's a lot of fans who are frustrated by him. I get it. He has his limitations. Really comes out when the rim stuff is just baffling.
Yeah.
But just having a player who can contribute on both sides, it's going to be nice to have him back.
It was good to have him back out there again. Just kind of makes the decision easier for Nick Nurse, whether he's starting or coming off the bench. It makes it easier for him to call that number, calling DeAnthony Melton's number, knowing what you're going to get from that player coming off the bench. And again, or when he steps on the floor, whether starting or coming off the bench. And for me, once again, yes, having to ease him back into the game, ease him back into after missing an entire month of professional basketball. He's done stuff in the gym at the practice facility where he's gotten shots up and he's done some 3-on-3 and he's gotten some individual work in, but it's nothing like getting back out there on the floor in 16 minutes tonight for him after missing a month and him dealing with an injury. It was different for Kyle Lowry last night, missing a month, not playing because he wasn't playing for the Charlotte Hornets, and then he had to find his team, the Sixers, having the All-Star break, getting out there. They needed him too. He played 26 minutes last night. They didn't need 26 from DeAnthony Melton tonight, but with it, for me, for what I always like to say about DeAnthony Melton, as good as he is as a starter, with Joel Embiid, Nick Batum, Tobias Harris, Tyrese Maxey, when your entire unit is out there on the floor, had, as Derek talked about quite a bit when we were discussing them as a starting 5. They had a top 5 starting 5 lineup in the NBA when he was healthy and out there on the floor. But for my money, once again, especially now that you have Buddy Hield, I still like DeAnthony Melton in this role as a 6th man coming in off the bench to provide so many different things that he can do with that second lineup, because Kelly Oubre is going to come in as a player off the bench too, as a reserve that we look to for some offensive punch, occasionally some defensive stuff from time to time because of how explosive he is. But it's the way that DeAnthony Melton, even with Kyle Lowry here as well, two guys that can settle things down, two players that I trust out there on the floor to get things under control when things may be going well for the Sixers, and sometimes you bring in some reserves and things go the other way. I feel comfortable with those two coming in as a backcourt, even with someone like Kelly Oubre who can be a little erratic. Two players that, again, are adults.
Right.
When you have another adult who can be erratic out there on the floor, I like the idea of Melton coming off the bench. Whether we see that going forward, I don't know, because if Buddy Hield does struggle to get things going with the starting group, and again, no Joel Embiid, maybe Nick Nurse says, hey, let me see what this looks like, because I haven't had an opportunity to see what Buddy Hield looks like coming off of my bench here, and give DeAnthony Melton an opportunity to get back into his spot that he only lost because he was injured. So I'd be very curious to see it. But again, for my money, I like Melton coming off the bench.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm open to see. Like I said, when the trade initially happened, my initial reaction was keep DeAnthony in there because they've been playing so well and because you need a little bit of defensive versatility. Then Buddy came out and, quite frankly, just competed a little better defensively than I was expecting, so that caused me to reevaluate it, because I think everybody understands that Buddy is a much better fit offensively. So if that gap is closed, then you would lean towards Buddy. And so far, I think that's probably where I would lean, but I'm willing to, like I said, we have another couple weeks until we even have to ask that question, because Joel's not, certainly not coming back. I think he's 2 weeks into they said he would be out 4 weeks until he was reevaluated. I think we're almost exactly 2 weeks into that, so we still have some time. Even if, if he came back earlier on in the timeline, that would probably not be at least until 6 weeks. So we have some time, is I guess what I'm getting at. But it's just nice. Like I said, if you look up and down this roster, all the perimeter players are poor defenders.
Yes.
And they range from mediocre. Maybe you could argue that Buddy's just mediocre, but he's not a good defender, to just downright poor. So just having one player who can credibly, play some one-on-one defense, who can dig down, create some chaos off ball. It's just nice to have that option in your rotation. And they've been missing that for quite a bit.
And we recognize that when we talk about Ricky Council IV, our guy, again, we'll get into him later in what we saw, but he's a player that they may lean on from time to time to come in for when we talk about specific minutes, specific substitutions against certain players or certain teams with perimeter play like Darius Garland tonight. Nick Nurse might call Ricky Council's number for that very reason, because they are so subpar. They are so underwhelming defensively on the perimeter with their players. And Kyle Lowry used to be a guy that was very, very high, but he has the smarts and he can still play good team defense. We'll see where that goes. But before we get into what we saw from Tobias Harris and Ricky Council, want to tell everybody we always talk about PHLYLocker.com and go get the gear. Go get our new hoodie, our show hoodie. We have so many people that are loyal listeners and viewers here on the PHLY Sixers show, always here for the rare pregame show, our postgame show, certainly, and definitely when we have our non-game day shows. We ask you to go to PHLYLocker.com for our regulars and some new people that you tell your friends, your family about. We're having a sale, folks, and we want you to go take advantage of the sale. Our guy, Schoolboy Beats, right? Devon spent a lot of money yesterday on the Super Chat. You got paid.
I had a nice little cheese stick at the game during the takeover, so I appreciate you.
There you go.
Didn't actually come, but it doesn't matter.
You got paid, right? You got paid. We have a sale for you here on PHLYLocker.com. 30% off of our locker sale when you go to our allphly.com site that may send you to PHLYLocker.com because you're like, I forgot it's PHLYLocker.com. I went to allphly.com.
Hell save.
You get there, right? Well, we have our sale from Monday through Wednesday. It begins Monday through Wednesday. Our clearance sale, PHLYLocker.com. You go ahead and check it out. Everything is included, from our new hoodies, the t-shirts, the hats that we speak about. I even went on PHLYLocker.com and saw a beanie. Derek, did you see the beanie on there?
I did.
A black beanie on the clearance site there as well, PHLYLocker.com. Everything is included. You see it. If you're watching right now, you saw the graphic that Brianna put up on the screen. Make sure you go in there, PHLYLocker.com, and go get everything that you need. You have to get our shirt here as a part of our group. You have to get a PHLY black hoodie. So when you come out to one of our events, you're representing.
Yeah.
Maybe you have the hat. I don't know. But go again, PHLYLocker.com. Clearance sale right now, 30% off. Once again, Monday through Wednesday. Go get something so you can look like us. Or look better than us. Look better than us.
Trust me, that is not a sales pitch, at least not for me. No. You want to look better than us, but you can at least wear the same gear as us.
All right, clearance sale. What are you getting? What are you asking for?
Honestly, I bought most of what I want. I bought a lot. I don't know if you noticed, I have a lot of different hoodies that I
You
wear.
do.
I don't have, I have already bought 3 of the 4 hats. The beanie might be it, although it's getting to be like we're getting end of winter, but like it might be that.
But you do leave the games late at night.
I do.
It's chilly out.
I do.
Might need the beanie to come back to the studio. So again, PHLYLocker.com. Clearance sale, 30% off Monday through Friday. Make sure you go in there and get your gear. Please go get our hoodie so you can represent with us. Get the blue hoodie. Get the royal blue hoodie, PHLY Sixers hoodie. Love you all. Go get one. Look like us. Or as Derek said, look better than us.
Yeah. Certainly, I hope this is not what you're aiming for. Trust me.
Aim for that. The handsome man right there. Aim for that. Also, on Tuesday, back on the road, man.
Yeah. I'm honestly excited for this. I want you all to come out the chicken or the egg in Marlton, New Jersey. Like I mentioned in the last show, I will buy everyone that comes a ludicrous wing. You will get a wing on me. I'll buy a bunch of wings. I don't give. If you want to try to eat as many of these ludicrous wings as you can, go at it. I will promise I will eat at least one with you, though. They are intense. They are a challenge. But like I said the last show, it's a little bit like a Philadelphia sporting team. We will get through it together.
So look,
hope to see you there.
The wings are good. We already know about the wings. The wings are good. The ludicrous wings, they might be good. It was so hot, couldn't really tell if they were good or not. But the wings are good. Kyle had a wrap. He said that was also good. And we're going to try some different things when we are there. The chicken or the egg. On Tuesday night, Sixers, Celtics. And we're going to have our post-game show there. We're going to talk to you all while we're there. Are we doing anything pregame?
Yeah, we're doing pregame. You should probably know this, by the way.
Right.
We do have Jaden Jungle saying that he will be there. I hope that this isn't like when Devon says that he's going to join Discord. And I hope that this is true, Jay, but I hope to see you there.
Jay, we'll see you there. Al said he's going to be there.
Okay. I mean, Al was there tonight.
So we saw Al tonight.
Al shows up. I trust Al. I don't trust you and your Discord habits, but I trust Al.
All right. I'll be better.
I'm telling you, that wanted poster is coming up on one of these streams.
That's all right. I ran into a friend who has been a longtime friend since I've been in the business. And she said, Capri, she said she would be there. She was at the game, ran into Capri. Okay. She said she's in New Jersey, so she's going to be there. She's going to stop by, say hello as we get ready for our pregame show, watch the Sixers Celtics with you, and then our postgame show as well. So hope to see you on Tuesday night. Tobias Harris, we're going to see him in uniform. Hey, Ron, I got you, man. No worries. We'll see you in the Discord very soon. I'm just going to surprise you. It's going to be a surprise because I haven't been in there, so I'll just surprise you.
It's supposed to be 61 on Tuesday.
61 degrees?
We might have to play some like bocce ball or whatever they have outside. I don't even know if they have bocce ball, but they have a big area outside where you could theoretically do that. We'll play something outside.
But what's it
going
to be at night, though? I don't know.
It might be cold at night. We'll see.
We have to see if the light, because we saw that they got the bocce, they have the green out there, they have the bar area out there.
Yeah, they had a big outdoor area. I don't know if they're actually going to use it because it is still February, so you don't expect it to be nice. But it's supposed to be 61 on Tuesday.
All right,
fun.
You know, that'd be pretty cool when we walk in. I don't know about when we leave or when it's time to play bocce ball. But anyway, Tobias Harris will be there in uniform on the screen, many screens around the chicken or the egg. So tonight, 15-9, sitting next to Al, who's already been in the chat.
Doesn't sound like
he
the biggest
was not
Tobias
happy.
fan.
He was not happy, folks. As you've seen in the chat, we had a chance to talk with Al during the game. Not happy. What are your thoughts on Tobias's game tonight? 15. They needed all 15 points.
They did.
They needed the 9 boards.
They did. That was maybe the best part of his game because that's something you don't see him do all that often. He came out and he missed that first three by like 2 feet to the right.
Super air ball, man.
Not
that
close.
was bad.
I leaned over to Kyle and I said, over under 1.5 threes the rest of the game. He took 1 3 the rest of the game.
Of course he did.
You knew once, and quite frankly, he made that 3. He looked pretty confident stepping into it. But once he missed that first one by a mile, I thought, oh no, he's going back into that shell. And to his credit, he came out and he was pretty aggressive. He didn't convert all that many early on. He was at least attacking off the dribble. I appreciate that. That pass, when they were up 5, was pull your hair out
on
bad.
the inbounds?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
You have to get that ball in. It's not that difficult. That's why they almost quite literally dusted Nick Batum off and brought him in just to make that one pass.
For 2 seconds.
Just the kind of stuff that like Tobias will randomly do. The rebounding was big. I'm glad he at least tried to put pressure on the rim. Was he good? No. Like, he scored 15 points on 14 shots, had an inexcusable turnover. We could go over all the mistakes he made. But he was better than yesterday?
He was better than yesterday. Anything would have been almost better than yesterday. There was a play that he had when he drove to the basket, and it seemed like there was a pathway for him to really make it, right? Attempt a good shot. Al starts going nuts. And I'm like, Al, relax.
Yeah.
And I'm talking to Chris, who's in front of us, one of Vince's buddies, and Chris is a good dude. He's always in here watching the show. And Chris is there, and Chris and I agreed. You know, while Al was going nuts, he's also saying, all right, let me calm myself down. At least he took it. At least he took the shot. And we were like, no. Because if you're going to do it with a purpose. Try to make the shot. And that was the thing that we got the ultimate Tobias Harris game tonight.
Yeah.
Making you pull your hair out because of that drive, because of that 3-point shot that went wide right. The inbound pass late. Inbounds, guys, inbounds. I know I'm talking to you. I'm not talking to you disrespecting you. I'm just saying it for the people who may not know. Coaches pick players to inbound the basketball, especially late in the game, because they have trust in that player to make that crucial pass. Sixers up 5 with under, 30 seconds to play. And Tobias, yes, it's a difficult thing. But you want him roaming the line because...
Well, and that's the thing. A baseline, you can at least move. You can
move,
change
you can
that
roam.
Angle. It's much easier than a sideline.
That was after a made basket, right?
Yeah.
So down 5, up 5, you want to be able to inbound that play. And yes, they had Buddy Hield. Maxey's in the game. He makes a pass to Maxey where they're really, really overplaying him to deny him the basketball on that entry pass. And Tobias is yelling at the ref as they steal it and score. And Nick Nurse is pissed off because of that, rightfully so, and had to dust off Nick Batum. I looked it up. Literally 3 seconds he played tonight. Had to dust him off for that 3 seconds because, again, a player that you trust to make an inbounds play like that. But then he had the rebounds, and he had the made 3-pointer, and he had a couple of other shots. He had an opportunity.
He had a real nice, I forget who made the baseline cut, but he had a real nice assist.
Yeah, he had a real, it was,
third quarter,
I know exactly what you're talking about for that bucket. KJ Martin, I think it was.
It seemed like
KJ Martin, and it was a really good play. He also had a finish at the rim that was off of another really good play. But this was the ultimate pull your hair out, drive you nuts Tobias Harris game. But as Derek said, it was better than what we saw last night. And the 9 rebounds, folks, were crucial. Needed all 9 of those rebounds.
Yep.
Needed all 9 of those rebounds. So good game from Tobias for, they got the win. So good game for Tobias. And there's that. All right. Before we get to our Super Chats, because we have a ton, we'll get Kyle whenever he's ready from the arena. A couple of players, I guess we just run them off, and then we'll run to our Super Chats. Also, your thoughts on KJ Martin again, getting some early minutes. He's getting that nod over Ricky Council IV. Big lineup over there for Cleveland with Mobley and Jared Allen. What are your thoughts again? Another night where I thought KJ Martin at least played well enough to continue to get some minutes going forward.
He's played solid. 2 things I like about KJ. 3 things. First, he moves off ball. That baseline cut from Tobias, a good example of that. Second, he will compete on the glass, which Ricky does too. I don't want to say that this is like he should be getting these because he should be getting minutes over Ricky because of this, but it's just things I like about KJ. rebounds basketball, and he can elevate off of both 1 or 2 feet, so he can contest some shots at the rim, which they need when they're going to go small. He has given you solid minutes. He's not spectacular. Like, I think his defense can be overrated at times. He can certainly get lost off ball, backdoor cuts for days. He's certainly not perfect defensively, but he gives you enough athleticism, enough team defense to, where you just need someone of that ilk right now. He's been solid. Not great, certainly not bad, solid.
Someone you feel okay when they give him minutes. If it's not going well, you take him out.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep, absolutely. Ricky Council.
Would love it if he could shoot, but, if he could shoot, he wouldn't be KJ Martin.
6 minutes and 21 seconds from Rick, and
had all of their first half free throws.
He was aggressive.
Had 100% of their first half free throws.
And 100% aggressive.
Yeah.
Yes, he was. Kyle looked down the aisle where we were sitting and looked at me after the one bucket that he had and said, "Go get him, Rick." Yeah. What did you think of Ricky's minutes? Short stint. Pretty much what we thought. And it was really about the energy, effort, but it was about that defense too on Darius Garland and some of their perimeter players that he wanted them out there, I think.
Yeah. A shot is the reason you're not going to see him on the floor very often lately.
Yeah.
The defense, the rebounding, the physicality, I like it all. I like the fact that he drives and puts real pressure on the rim. Even the one layup that he missed, I like the fact that he, like I said, put pressure on the rim.
Because we've seen him make it before.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right off the glass, just didn't go in. I think there's going to be a lot of fans who really, really want Ricky to keep playing, and it's just not going to happen. I don't expect it to happen at all. I'm not going to sit here and necessarily say that Nick is wrong for it, but he does show, and look, it's tough to read too much into a 6-minute stint. It's sort of like the game last night. If he keeps being aggressive and keeps giving them effort and athleticism and physicality, I'm probably going to say, yeah, I liked what he did, even if he has a night like tonight where he ends up with 3 points, 0 for 3 from field, 0 for 2 from 3. That's fine. The jumper is going to be a long-term development thing. I like what I see from him in terms of the, like I said, size, physicality, athleticism.
And he got to the free throw line 4 times, and that was 4 more than most people on this team until Maxey
They
made.
legitimately didn't have a free throw outside of him in the first half. It was wild. It was wild.
Good minutes from Ricky again. Sixers 33 and 23. And as we talk about Rick, and I said Kyle looked down the aisle at us at the arena when Ricky made that layup and said, "Go get him, Rick." Well, he looked at me to say, "Go get him, Rick," because he didn't want to yell out, "Go get him, Rick." There, Kyle joins us from the arena after a nice win for the Sixers in front of a sellout crowd on the night we had a chance to sit with some of our friends, of course, friends of the show. And Kyle, a nice bounce back tonight for this team as they pick up this win over, again, Cleveland Cavaliers for the second time in about 2 weeks, man.
Yeah, by the way, we had a first-time basketball game attender with us tonight who is now 1-0 all-time in basketball games attended. So shout out to Miranda for that, and shout out to all our people who came through for our takeover tonight. Had a nice time up in, was that 216, 217, whatever it was?
216A.
Even though they knew we were coming and they shut down the bar ahead of time, those bums.
Yeah,
very upset about that.
Just terrible stuff. I will say, this is at the forefront of my mind, so I have to tell you guys. We had one of the weirdest locker room moments of my time covering the team just now. So obviously, DeAnthony Melton's return was a pretty big deal. Hasn't played in quite a while, and prior to being hurt, was a regular starter for this team. He skipped out tonight before we were able to talk to him. It was just like, got out of there quickly, whatever. It's not really thinking about it. And we conducted a phone interview with DeAnthony Melton on speakerphone from the locker room with all of us standing around with our recorders. And it was taken over the top. And I'm so sad that I didn't get this on video. Tyrese Maxey figures out what's going on. He goes, he picks up the phone, and we got George Niang yelling from the hallway, by the way. I don't know if he wants to.
Tell him to stop by.
George, you can come in if you'd like to. So Tyrese Maxey,
we can get his perspective on the Ricky trash talk.
George, how you doing?
Tell
man?
him to jump in front of you. What's up, man? Come on.
Come on. Cheating.
Good to see you, George.
Oh, come on, man.
Where else do you get content like this? Anyway, now we're completely off the rails. So Tyrese actually grabbed, it was Sixers PR, Rob King. He takes Rob King's phone and he goes, You are unbelievable, bro. You've been out for 7 months and you left before you could talk to the media. And he's just berating him over the top of speakerphone. So that was a funny moment. And I'll say we talked to D'Anthony. He said he felt good. Everybody commented on the fact that he looked bouncy, looked athletic, which was the big tell.
Yeah.
That I think he's closer to where we'd expect D'Anthony to be. And he told us on the phone that the big thing for him to get, the hurdle he had to clear, was when he gets hit or when he hits the floor, whatever happens, how does his body respond to that? How does he respond to that? And he said once he went down a couple of times, now it's basically just a mental thing. Got to be able to, put the pedal to the floor, go strong to the basket. Thought he had I've made fun of him a decent amount for his drives to the basket and how they end up, but earned a couple free throws by going strong to the rim tonight. So I think you already see, even if he's not at 100%, the difference that D'Anthony can make just adding him to the rotation.
Nice to see D'Anthony taking a page out of my book. Stay away for a while, come back, and leave.
Come back at half speed, do half the work you normally do.
Oh, go ahead.
I guess just because fans are wanting, just give updates on Batum and Lowry because they were uncertain why they didn't play.
Well, so Lowry, we knew. That was
scheduled.
one that coming into the game, they basically said, look, he played a lot of minutes last night. This is a back-to-back, whatever. And Nurse had said pregame, which, Derek, you were at. Nurse said,
I just lean on you to be the correspondent, even if I'm there.
So Nurse had said pregame they would have liked to play him about 20 minutes or less last night against New York. And they pushed it because he was playing well. They went on a big run, all that. And having played him a bunch of minutes, scaled him back today and said, look, we play Sunday. And so that was known. Nurse told us after the game that he had to convince the staff, the medical staff, to even dress Batum just for basically emergency inbounding type situations. And he basically was like, I promise he won't touch the floor. He will stand on the sideline or out of bounds, throw the ball. And that's all he's going to do. And so that's all he did. And so they're obviously being very cautious with him. We didn't get any kind of idea of whether he will be fine for Sunday, but that's the basic gist of it that we heard from Nick Nurse. According
to Taryn, they offered Nico a water after he left the floor during his 3-second stint. Think he might be okay on that one.
That was some of the most important 3 seconds that he's ever
really
offered because they needed to get that ball in bounds, man. That could have. Yeah. I had already tweeted good bounce back from the Sixers, and I had 25 people you motherfucker! I can't believe you blew the game for the Sixers. So there's that.
Kyle's on the show for 10 minutes and he's already dropping an MFer.
Hey,
classic Kyle.
It's a Friday night.
Yeah. I guess what did you make out of the first half, specifically with Cam playing better, Mo playing, at least having a stint where he was playing better, and overall just out rebounding the Cavs, which I don't think any of us expected coming into this one.
No, and a lot of guys deserve credit for that, right? You already said Mo, and we give him a lot of grief, but played at least a decent game. Certainly got a lot more minutes tonight than he did a night prior. Nurse said after the game, big point of emphasis, obviously, after that game, that they were going to attack the glass because they were, I don't want to say ashamed of their effort there the night before, but they were not happy with it after going over the film. And so you go over it and your coach chews you out a little bit. You all look at the tape and say, yeah, we left this money on the table. Came in with a renewed sense of focus and purpose tonight. That made a big difference. And to your point, yeah, Cam came into this game, huge spark as a scorer. Basically bought Tyrese the time that he needed because this was not a good Tyrese Maxey game for basically the first 3 quarters. And then he explodes in the fourth, carries them home, does what an all-star type guy is supposed to do. But this is the type of, team effort that it's going to require to win for the next, let's say month or so until Joel Embiid is back. Even Tobias Harris drove me crazy for a lot of that game, right? But if you're talking about the rebounding component, there was a more concerted effort there from him he should be one of their better rebounders. He's a good athlete. He's big. He's strong. He's somebody who can make an impact there. And so for Tobias to have a poor offensive night, but still make a difference there, that's the sort of stuff we're talking about, right? Like, I'm not expecting to watch every game and Tobias gives you an efficient 20 to 25. That's not going to happen. But the requisite effort and attention to detail on the glass, that's got to be there from him. That's got to be there from Mo Bamba. That's got to be there from Paul Reed. And so to essentially neutralize one of Cleveland's big advantages in the size department and win the rebounding battle for a lot of the game, that's good stuff. That's good. What's going to allow you to beat good teams, to steal wins, and try to hold the fort until Joel Embiid gets back.
And doing that, you needed all those people specifically in the first half, certainly in the second half, but you also needed your all-star with his 15 points in the fourth quarter. Big three-pointer down the stretch, those 4 free throws that he made. What did you make of Maxey taking over? We've seen it before, but it just seemed like he didn't have it. 9 points at one point in the fourth quarter until he didn't, and he wound up with that 15 extra to have a game-high 24.
And look, Devon, that's part of – I'm sure you would agree with this. That's part of becoming and actually being a star, right? It's the expectation that you have a bad night or a bad few quarters. You are still going to be relied on. You are still going to need to take those shots and deliver down the stretch. And a lot of that is just the mental side of it, right? Like, we see a lot of role players. You get in a hole early, you miss a few threes. All of a sudden, you're second guessing yourself. Oh, I'm not doing this. Open shot, but I've already missed 1 or 2 earlier in the game, so I don't really want it. I'm passing it elsewhere. And so to see him still play decisively, that to me shows some of the maturation over the last few years, and definitely his ascent into a bigger role, right? Like, when he was a rookie or second-year guy where he's got the bigger names ahead of him, he's still going to defer if he's got a tough start. Or, frankly, rookie year, he's probably getting benched. Doc Rivers is going to say, yeah, you're 2 for 7 at halftime. We don't really need to see you. We'll go to Shake Milton or George Hill or somebody else in the second half. Furkan Korkmaz, whoever it is. And now the expectation is on him. Like, you have to rally. You have to battle. I don't care what type of game you've had up to this point. And so to me, that's very important to see that. Yes, obviously him succeeding is what gets you the win, right? Like, they don't get the win without him. I just think it's important to see the consistency in the approach, the aggression. Like, he loves to say when he has a bad game, he's like, I just wasn't aggressive. And that can be a little bit dismissive, but that's a big component of being one of the best guys right now. The best guy on the team is understanding, like, it doesn't matter how you feel right now. It doesn't matter if you're 1 for 10, you're 2 for 13. You have to come through for this team. And so I have big credit to him for rallying after that tough start.
All right, man.
That's all I got.
Well, we have a big one on Sunday, big game on Sunday against the Milwaukee Bucks.
I'll see you bright and early, buddy.
Bright and early, man.
I'm warning the entire audience now. I will most likely be hungover. I'm going out with family on Saturday night. My sister's out of town resident at this point, so she's in town. I'm going to be tying one on Saturday night. So I will be there bright and early. I can promise you that. I can't say if I'll be on my A game or not.
Well, you won't have to speak until about 3:30, so you should be good.
The Kyle Neubeck Flu Show. We're here for it.
No worries,
Listen,
man.
That's one thing my dad always stressed to me. He goes, you can do whatever you want in your free time, but you got to show up to work ready to go. So I will be there to see Doc Rivers and look him in the eye Sunday morning. I will be there no matter what.
A lot of liquids, man. There's some Gatorade in the building. You should be able to, hydrate. You'll be fine. Thanks, man. Be safe getting home.
If George Niang's got anything for us after the quick guest appearance earlier.
No doubt about it. Thanks, man. Be safe getting home. We'll talk to you.
Get the other
Sunday.
side of that Ricky trash talking perspective. See what he has to say about Rick.
I will do my best, but I think George is long gone at this point. See you guys. Get home safe.
Thanks, man. You too. Kyle Neubeck again, live from the arena. Make sure you go read his recap at allphly.com. Christina Reyes in the chat says, it was nice meeting you at the game tonight. Devon, thank you, Christina. It was nice meeting you as well. She wants to shout out Vince. It was also nice meeting Vince as well, and have a blessed night. Same to you, Christina. We really appreciate it, and that's why we do these, to interact with everybody who takes the time to hang out with us on game days, non-game days. You spend your hour and some change with us, and we really appreciate it. So, Christina, thank you to you as well for coming out and hang out. Thanks to Al and so many people who came out to hang out with us tonight. It was really cool. We had a lot of people to talk to in the Super Chat also. Here, as we have a bunch of them. Where do we begin, Bree? Let us know. We start from the beginning. Let's start from the beginning. Real time says Tobias Harris is an embarrassment to the uniform.
I mean, look, I don't know. It's like the last show. I have so much fatigue talking about Tobias and complaining about Tobias and being exasperated by Tobias.
Just wanted to acknowledge the Super Chat.
He was. If he does this more often, where he will actually compete on the glass and at least give you that on a regular basis, I will back off of him.
If he can give you consistently 15 and 9, because we're not ending up with
he's
a
not
7.
Gonna,
but it's not a 7 and 5. We want 18 to 20 because we've seen it. 18, 20 points, make impact offensively, about 7 rebounds a game to go along with that point total. We can't have the 7 and 5 games in 30 plus minutes. So if you get a consistent 15 and 9, 15 and 7 from Tobias Harris, you just have to live with it and hope that you get the other production that you would expect from the others.
But I also, like, for me, I don't worry too. Like, the 15 is in part not going to be consistent, especially when Embiid comes back, because there's so many other scorers on the team. Like, there might be some nights where
But he's going to get
gets
enough shots where he should.
Where I'm getting at, I want to see consistently taking the open 3 and consistent effort on the glass. If he gives me those two, I will deal with the occasional 10-point outings because he is at least making contributions elsewhere when the ball is not really when the offense isn't being run through him very much. But you don't get consistent rebounding. You don't get consistently taking the open shot. You don't get consistent floor spacing. And because of that, it makes the 8-point outings even more infuriating.
That's why I said if.
Sure. But back to the point. The contributions on the glass night were key. So honestly, this is not a game where I complain. Yeah, he missed a lot of makeable shots. He passed open some threes, but at least he gave you something on the glass. And is the bar kind of low? Yeah, but this is frankly one of the better games he's played in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, yep. So the fact that we're debating it, that's the problem. That's the problem. Yeah. Real Time also says, hey, Citizen Cheese, here's another $2. I'm petty. Petty. All right, it's cool. But we appreciate always checking in, always jumping in, and we appreciate you checking in on the Super Chat as well. Thanks, Real Time. Have a great night and a great weekend as well. Cannoli, our good friend Cannoli, off topic, but we'd like to get your thoughts on the Harden trade, given how good the Clippers are now and have been. Should they have included Mann or Powell in that deal?
I mean, look, Trey Mann's not been lighting the world on fire.
And Powell was the one that we talked about. If you got him back, you understood why and how he could help.
Yeah.
So, of course, if you could got him, yeah.
Yeah, look, you would have liked to have gotten him, but no, I'm kind of okay with it because he wasn't coming back here. If he did come back here, he was going to be a distraction more than a help. You weren't going to get this version of Harden. Mm-hmm. And even still, even with how well he's playing and how well the Clippers are playing, I didn't want to give him a 4-year, $200 million deal. And I think if you didn't give him a 4-year, $200 million deal, you were eventually going to get to the point where he was going to ask out and try to get to a place where he could get that next contract. So given that option, no, I'm actually kind of okay with...
Same.
Yeah, like it sort of goes back to... a lot of times we'll say, well, they got off of Al Horford's contract, then he rebounded, he played better. Was it a mistake to get off the contract? I don't necessarily think it was, even though they had to give a first-round pick to do that, because he was never rehabilitating his value here in Philadelphia. Likewise, I don't think James Harden was ever going to play to this level in Philadelphia because he was checked out. He was done. He was done with the organization, done with Daryl Morey. He wanted the only way for him to get where he wanted and get to a place where he was going to get that next contract was to be a bad teammate and or a shitty player. So I don't think you were going to really increase his value by keeping him around longer towards the deadline. I'm okay with what they got back. I actually am.
I agree with you. I want to also shout out Winona P. Martin here in the chat. She says she's loving the show, and we appreciate it. Thanks for checking in. Amerikick, Northeast Philly. So I got a chance to see them before the game, and I've known them for a while from our work over the years. They hadn't really found us, and they wanted to make sure they found a way to find us and know exactly where to go. And that is Karate Mark and his wife, Alicia. So we appreciate them and them checking in. They said it was nice catching up tonight, and I agree. It was great seeing you guys Now that you know where we are, we appreciate you checking in on the ride home and listening to us, getting that post-game feel from Derek and I here as we run with it.
One quick point. Tron's in the chat bringing up a good point. They also got to unload PJ Tucker and that contract. PJ Tucker, who has pretty much not played over the last month,
and
is not happy about it, refuses to negotiate a buyout. And he has a player option for next year, which he will be picking up because that's the only way he's getting $11 million. Getting off that contract was no small consideration. Absolutely,
Has he even been back on the bench like he said he would? I haven't
followed up.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah.
He got sent home basically.
Yeah, not happy. Yeah. Not happy. Liam, our friend Liam Stevens says, thoughts on he won't even type in Tobias's full name. That's how upset. It's like a bad word. So you know you have to put some punctuation in there.
Yeah.
Tobias Harris getting $800,000 over the last 48 hours. Well,
good for him.
That's his contract. It is what it is.
Yeah, and look,
at this point,
I think Tobias would be frustrating in without the contract because I think people see a player with a skill set that should be getting more out of that skill set than he currently is. So I don't want to say that all of the frustration comes down to the contract. I think a significant part does, but you're at the point where the contract really doesn't matter because you're at the past the trade deadline. He's going to be an expiring contract. It is what it is. Even with that qualifier out of the way, he's still frustrating, like I said, because you just expect somebody with that skill set, that size, to get more out of it, and he's not. But the contract certainly doesn't help.
It's what it is. 5 years later, it's still what it is. Chris Manera says, can we rely on the Reed-Bamba combo in the playoffs when Embiid is on the bench? Are these the two best backups he's ever had? No. These are not the two best backups he's ever had.
So, can you rely on him? It's a two-part question. Can you rely on him? I'm actually not too crazy worried about the backup center rotation if Joel Embiid is healthy. Because if you're only asking them to get 8 to 10 minutes per game, I think Paul Reed is capable of filling that role.
You might not even see Mo Bamba because Reed.
Gosh darn hope you don't see Mo Bamba.
Because Reed has done well as a backup.
But there's two things. First of all, when you extend him, and Rich Hoffman, one of our co-hosts here, our co-worker certainly, also check out his daily newsletter, allphly.com. Incredible. He pointed out on Twitter earlier that, when you ask Paul Reed to extend himself to 20, 25 minutes per night, and then when you ask Mo Bamba to, quite frankly, play basketball, that's when the unreliability really kicks in. But when you have a very defined role with very defined minute limit and going against mostly backups, Paul Reed has been capable in the past. He's been capable even in the playoffs. I do think Doc Rivers sort of held him in that role a little better and gave him more of a defined role than Nick Nurse has so far. It's one of the few areas where I would say Doc did a better job of that than Nick has done so far. But I do think, I was talking, I think it was with Al at the game today, where I just really wish Paul Reed would make contact when setting a screen rather than trying to slip everything. He seems like he has become enamored with himself as a roll man and a scorer when really he should be creating space by setting a hard screen and trying to free his guards. I think that he just played more in his lane a little better last year, and because of that, he was a little bit more reliable. But I do still think when you get to the playoffs, Paul Reed absolutely can fill a role because the role you're asking him to fill is pretty limited. And quite frankly, I like the chat, I'm sure, is saying Andre Drummond. Well, first of all, Al Horford's best backup center Embiid has had. The problem is you gave him 4 years and $108 million to be that backup center. Don't really want to do that. That's not good business.
Drummond was better.
But a lot of people say Drummond. I am way lower on Drummond than I think a lot of people are. I think he's a really bad defender. Obviously isn't going to do much in terms of offensive game. He's an elite rebounder, and that's nice to have, and it would certainly be nice to have as an option right now. But in terms of a playoff player, what Paul Reed gave you over the last 2 years, I think it's a lot closer than people think as Paul Reed being right there neck and neck with Andre Drummond.
Yeah.
Not as an overall player, but as filling in. Like if you had to ask someone to right now start, I would rather have Andre Drummond starting than Paul Reed. If you're asking for someone to play 8 to 10 minutes in the playoffs, I think it's closer than fans think. This is why I think people overstate the problem of the backup center spot. It just looks really bad right now without Joel Embiid out. You don't have sort of like that guy who can extend himself into a 25 to 30-minute role when needed. Drummond could do that more capably, but in terms of playoffs, where the floor becomes much more spaced out, it's a much more mobile game. You have to switch more. I think Paul Reed does that.
Real fast.
Yep.
Reed or DeAndre Jordan?
Oh, not even close.
Reed.
Yeah.
Reed or Montrezl Harrell?
I'd go Reed.
All right. Reed or Amir Johnson?
I liked Amir,
So did I.
but he was certainly a little
Doc-
in terms of the spin cycle, he was getting a little close.
Yes,
But I liked Amir.
But
I liked
Amir.
Amir.
Was good,
Yeah.
and Brett Brown maybe went a little too far.
Yep.
With the Amir Johnson minutes, and he was certainly better than what's my man from Georgetown?
Signed him real late.
Yeah, that played in the Toronto
Monroe.
series. Yeah, Greg Monroe. So, yeah, definitely Reed. All right, let's keep these rolling because Davon.
But I really need Nick to get him back to like set a screen, roll hard to the basket, play within yourself. Because when you do that, he can switch on defense. He has some virtues
did
that I
it
think
tonight.
can pop out. He just needs to make fewer mistakes, and they need to get him back to it.
And he did that tonight a couple of times where he did finish closer to the rim, and he has the ability to knock down the shot. And I think once he has seen and they've given him the green light to do so, he is taking full advantage of that. All right. Thank you, Chris, for that question. And let's go to Davon because he has a bunch. Speaking about Ricky Council, Ricky's handle is underrated. He shakes people easy.
Yeah,
He does
I'd
get
agree
to
with
the
that.
basket. Yeah, so it's a little underrated.
Yeah, and part of the problem he might not be able to really utilize that as much as you would like is because one of the ways to create space is to have people respect your outside shot, and then all of a sudden it becomes a lot easier to blow by them. Nobody's respecting his outside shot, so maybe at times the handle won't pop. But for a big player who's not really seen as maybe a, I don't want to say high skill level, but who's certainly not a finesse player, I think he does have at least a capable handle, and now he just needs to get that jump shot to be capable.
Yeah, and he continues with Ricky saying that he sure can come in and get to the line, get to the free throw line. 3 for 4 tonight, and he got those 4 in that short amount of time there in the first half, and it was good to see that. Maxey finished 4 for 4 by the end of the game, but by that point, Ricky Council had the most free throws for the Sixers. It's not something that you want to see, but something that, again, maybe bodes well for Ricky Council. He also checks in with Tobias, only player to airball 3 shots in a 3-point contest. That was when he was with the Los Angeles Clippers. A lot of people probably forget that he was in a 3-point contest as a member of the Clippers because, as we talked about, which is why he was traded to the Sixers when Elton Brand went after him, it was because he was playing so well with the Clippers.
He was launching 5 threes a game. He was shooting 43% from three. Like he was having a real good year from 3.
Yes, he was. Yes, he was.
Now
Finally,
he's shooting 3 at 34%.
34%.
Ooh.
Yeah, great job. Davon finally closes things down in the super chat by saying, why don't, and I was going to ask you this because Vince Pellegrini, our guy, brought this up to me earlier. Why didn't they give Petrusev a shot? He looked okay.
Philip with an F.
Philippe. Was it Philippe or Philip?
I don't know.
Yeah.
That's a good
never
question.
knew.
I should know that.
Yeah.
I always said Philip. It doesn't mean it's right.
It was a numbers thing, man.
It was a numbers thing. Look, if you're going to argue that he should have gotten a spot instead of Mo Bamba, I can't really push back against that. I wasn't necessarily sure that Petrusev did anything at really an NBA, like above average NBA level. But after watching Mo, and quite frankly, like after watching Mo Bamba in the preseason, I wasn't sure he was good. Honestly, I thought it was a battle. Yeah, I don't know. It's a fair point, but really, if you're relying on any of them, I don't necessarily think you want to.
Honestly, most people thought if you were going to get rid of Bamba or Petrusev, it was going to be Danny Green that got that spot over those two.
Well, Danny did make did he make the opening day roster? I forget.
He did, but he had to be let go for the trade, right?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
It was like 2 days in or something like that.
Yeah, so he's still out there too. Anyway, one more before we go, because this is the one that Vince was really talking about. Would you take a look at Poku, let go by the Oklahoma City Thunder for the rest of the season?
I will take a look at anyone who is tall if it means not relying on Mo Bamba.
Well,
he is tall.
Poku is tall also.
I don't
He's
think
just very thin.
Yeah, he's very thin. Sure.
But
Mo Bamba's not exactly a
No, he's not.
physical human being.
No, he's not.
Sure.
Why not?
I
Might not be Baisley,
Yep.
right? So
I mean, look, I'll give Baisley a shot at backup center minutes. Like,
I know you
Mo
would.
was fine today, and he had some pretty big blocks. He was a presence at the rim. I'm not relying on that. We've watched Mo Bamba enough over the years, and certainly over this year, to know that you're not getting that Mo Bamba every night. You're not getting that intensity level. I'll give just about anyone who is tall and can be a presence at the rim a shot.
And Randy says Bamba cleared him in the preseason. Fair enough. Fair enough. Listen, man, this was fun. Good win by the Sixers again, 104-97, the second time. PHLY says Bamba has baby hands. It's not wrong. We thank everybody for hanging out with us on the postgame on a Friday night. You guys always show up and support, even on a late night to start your weekend. 104-97, big minutes, big points, all-star performance in the fourth quarter from Tyrese Maxey to help close out this game and pick up a win. Sixers back on the floor Sunday afternoon, 1 o'clock game, folks, 1 o'clock against the Milwaukee Bucks. And Rivers is back in town. Any quick thoughts? Rivers back?
Look, it is.
You'll be at the pregame presser.
We'll be at the bright and early.
Bright and early.
Bright and early. I mean, bright
What's
and early.
that,
Look,
11?
we're sitting here at 11:30 at night. Our work night is different than most people's. 11 a.m. is bright and early for me. It will be great to have Doc in the building and not really care about what he says. That is a luxury that we didn't have for very many years.
And the mistakes that he would make on the Sixers side of the sideline, you would want him to make those on the other end of the sideline.
If you
for
can
the
find a way to
Milwaukee
pick up
Bucks.
another one of these 8 wins, that would be great. Yep.
Pat Bev
And
back too.
A matchup
Boozilla.
where some
Thank
of
you,
the Sixers
Boozilla.
perimeter players should have a chance to find some success. Tobias Harris should have a chance to get himself going because they do not have a very good defensive squad. And, with them traveling, Doc will have that lined up as an excuse. That is a long trip. So maybe the Sixers can take advantage of that.
Boots said it's a campaign revenge game. Yes. Followed up with the 16 points today with another good one on Sunday. We'll be back for our postgame on Sunday following the Bucks and Sixers. We thank you all for hanging out with us at our takeover at the arena. So many people to thank, so we thank you for hanging out. We talked to Christina, Al, of course, being there, so many others. We thank everybody for coming through.
Chicken or the egg, 27th, be there. I want to see you all.
And look, there's a lot of people in here. Randy, Vince, Mateus, Winona, Prophet One, Remo. I just running some Jay of the Jungle. Just running some of these folks. Kyle, definitely. Davon in the super chat. Who else did we have in the super chat there? Chris and Liam, Cannoli, Vince, our buddy Vince, of course. Real time in the super chat. Hey, Aaron.
What up, Aaron?
There you go. How about Al?
Well, pal.
There you go. We got that one. We had some new people again checking in for the first time. Luke in there. We saw so many others, so many people to thank. We thank you all for checking in. Amerikick, Northeast Philly for the first time, stepping in here. Randy, Charlie, Tron. So thank you, everybody, for coming through again tonight. Make sure you go and subscribe to the show. We really appreciate it. And when you do that, you get you got the bell icon.
Oh, God, that was so awful.
And when you get that, it's basically showtime. So we hope that you subscribe, tell a friend to tell another friend and the other friend and the other friend. We appreciate it as always. So have a great rest of your Friday. Enjoy your Saturday. We'll talk to you on Sunday following Bucks Sixers right here on the PHLY Sixers postgame show. Good night.
We all silly like the mayor.